As the final period of the year approaches and the competitive seasons of each season is getting to a close, LATAM Summit 4 would serve as the finale of the 2025 season, as it was one of the greatest seasons of all time for LATAM. This invitational had the non-traditional 20 players instead of 16. It's not the first and certainly wouldn't be the last time we see it. Before we head into the group stages, let's quickly talk about the qualifiers and how the spots were determined. Wish to skip this part, timestamps are in the description. Anyways, we got 20 different players, and of those, we got Barlito, Edgar, MT, Diakis, Vinicius, Kios, G4T, and Mario F, who were invited based on their high PR placement. Then we have 4 players who were voted in: Senior B, Waldo, Arkeiko, and Gabriel Koch. After that would be the 2 Summit qualifier tournaments, where the top 2 of each qualifier tournaments would advance. The first one had Graffiti and Flamemeyer, and the other one had Luis and Sami qualify. Third place of both qualifiers, Oscar and Korea, played a first 5 where Oscar came out on top and advanced. The last 3 invited players belonged to the Radiant Chibi Robo Pika player, 4th place of Summit qualifier Ryuka, and Erika Stell, appearing for the first time since LATAM Summit 3 last. That gave us 20 players ready to show up for this occasion. With 5 people in 4 groups, it's time to start this behemoth and run through everyone. Group A consists of Barlito, Senior B, Gat, Sami, and the Pika player. This is perhaps the least chaotic group of the 4, but still had some moments in it. Barlito would come out on top, going 3-1, but it wasn't easy at all. He would have a hard time in his first set against G4T, going down 2-0, then making it the first 3-0 versus the Argentinian, then losing to Pika in a 3-0. He would bounce back immediately after 3-0ing Sami, defeating Senior in the second longest 3-game set just behind Piano versus 2 hands. Senior B would be just behind him, who also earned a hard-fought 3-1 record, beating Pika 3-2, Sami 3-0, and G4T 3-1 in a set that we'll talk about in a bit. Anyhow, the tiebreaker between the 2 would go to Barry, but barely thanks to Pika's 2-game victory over Senior. The third spot was also a tight battle, and it went to Sami. She and Pika won and lost twice, but it went to Sami thanks to the win in round 1, 3-2, where lag had its consequences, and Pika was still the last game. Now it may not make sense, but honestly, it came to Pika just not wanting to dive into the lag of playing online with other lovers in LATAM. Funnily enough, if Pika was able to win this against Sami or Senior, he could have been on the top of the group and start Sunday in winner's bracket. But we don't live in a timeline, so the last place would go to Gat, who man, this one is just sad. His run in Summit would be defined by simply having the worst luck around. G4T's sets against all opponents were very good, all things considered, pushing the limit of MK's state post-patch and showing that he still got it. However, choking leads and being a victim of Boomerang's win hitbox did not let him win any of the important sets. It is sad to see one of LATAM's finest players in this day, as he was one of the few players to beat Kiniak this year and getting his career best back in April at 1.3's final major tournament ever. Unfortunately, his decline in activity at 17th at Salt Arena and MK's horrible transition into 1.4 piled up really quickly. How G4T returns with MK not being bad at winning something big for once. He deserves it. Now on to Group B, consisting of MT, Kios, Flamemeyer, Stel, and Waldo. This looked like a very tough group with this many top players together. It meant that it would be probably very close or someone would crash out pointless. Surprisingly, the one to lose all of his matches would be MT402. The Colombian would go on for only winning 4 games across 3 sets he played. Perhaps it was mainly because he was making sure that the event was going smoothly and yeah, probably that put him out of practice. Even when he used all of his characters, he couldn't find good wins against all of his opponents. But hey, at least he made the event run as smooth as possible. So shout out to him. Following MT in the elimination zone would be Kieros. He would go 1-3 with his only victory over MT. If it wasn't for the loss in his set against Waldo, he could have qualified, but how to say it? Go ahead, that's
True. Multi-jab. Bueno.
Speaking of luck, Waldo's third place finish was perhaps the most unexpected in this group. He picked up wins over MT and Kieros, the latter done perhaps one of the most exciting and funniest sets in 2025. The two would do cinema on each other, but with the ending of game 1 and the momentum Waldo picked up through this set, give him just the edge to grab the seat to qualify in the Sunday's bracket. Yeah. The top 2 finishes would go to Playmeyer and Castel, with the former finding some deep and ancient power to top his group. Playmeyer's DDD was on fire that day, going 4-0 and beating all different matchups and players with some of the best DDD gameplay around, showing the amount of potential and just how crazy you can push this character. Castel would be in a similar vein. Despite losing round 1 to Playmire, he would beat his other opponents and showcase the power of his new Goku. We know Castel would make a strong run with the new Goku, and he was gradually warming up throughout the group phase, landing sick combos and strength with his new Goku. We will just have to wait and see what he will pull off in the final bracket, so keep an eye on that. Next onto Group C, consisting of Edgar Blink, Nicias, Luis, Oscar, and Keiko. This was an interesting group, as the fight for the top spot would go to Nicias immediately. He would clutch it out by preventing their birth 3-0 from Edgar in a set, and topping this group after beating the rest of his opponents without much a problem. Except Luis, of course, but we will get that in a bit. Edgar, on the other hand, would beat all of his opponents 3-1, and let's say it's very important for what's happening next. The fight for the third spot was between Luis, Oscar, and Arkeiko, and unexpectedly, it was a 3-way tie. Luis beat Arkeiko, Arkeiko beat Oscar, and Oscar beat Luis, all in 3-0 fashion. That leaves us with their head-to-head against their other opponents. Against Edgar, 3-1 for all of them. That leaves us with Nicias. Oscar and Arkeiko lost 3-0 each, giving Luis the chance to grab the third spot, and he did it, not only by winning Game 2, but also pushing Nicias to Game 5 and nearly beating him. The drama of this group was fascinating until the final round to say the least, and all competitors played their best, but in the end, only 3 qualified, unfortunately. Lastly, Group D, consisting of Yakis, Gabriel Koff, Ellen Graffiti, Mario Fee, and Ryuka. Similar to Group B, this was essentially the group of death, and some chaos were bound to happen. The fallen of this group would be Fee, going 0-4. The Brazilian unfortunately lost all of his sets and won only one game against Yakis in a very wacky set. Other than that, 3-0 from the rest, making him the worst player and 20th in the summit. SSC, the Brazilian who used to be the best Lloyd for a while, even had a win over Kenya earlier this year at the non-PR Road to Demon Days. Maybe in 2026 we will see something different, but who knows. The fight for the third place was a tight battle between Ryuka and Diakis, that both would go 2-2 in their group. The two would beat Mayufi 3-0 and 3-1 respectively, then lose to Gabriel 3-1 and 3-2, making them tied on points. Ryuka would beat LM 3-1 while Diakis lost 3-1. That leaves us the final round where the two would face each other, and Diakis needed to win in order to advance. And he did it in a 3-2 set, clawing his spot for third place, and the two would be on title point with their head-to-head going to the previous number 1 rank. The battle of the top 2 spots between Gabriel and Mirem was also close, albeit nowhere as close as the one happening below them. The top spot went for the Peruvian Lucayo, thanks to winning their exhilarating 5-game battle, and Gabriel also going for game 5 against Diakis. And before we finish, I would love to shed some spotlight on this wax set in particular.
Mira, a ver, yo de Jackpot, así que me interesa saber cómo Gabriel o sea, él usualmente va a querer estar en tu y Diego está tratando de hacer down throw ser el 0%. La yo estaba en el juego antes. Para mí le compliqué bastante. Espera. Sí, Dios. Hola, hola. Sí, tenemos bastante claro que pero no tenemos muy claro lo que se mató el borde. Está bueno. Y Diego se queda con tantas. Mira, ¿sabes? Yo por mi experiencia no es igual que maldita loca. Ok, bueno, está, ok. Ahora Diego es que tiene la ventaja que ha caído como 4 veces seguidas. ¡Oh, el combo! ¡No! El suicidio. Esta magia está yendo bastante rápido. Así que... ¡Oh! Un combo de Fire Z. ¿Otra vez? ¿Estamos ganando? No lo malo, pero bueno, me interesa verlo. Espera, sí. Veamos. Ay, no, me duele con madre. Pero se mata. No mata. Más corto. Hay oído demasiado debajo del stage, arriesgándolo a esta altura. Pero es que va perdiendo, yo entiendo el porqué, pero es muy arriesgado. Definitivamente el Cayo ¿qué? ¡Oh, el Cayo qué! Ganando de la unión.
Not only it was important, it was very funny. Now then, after we have concluded the groups, we can finally begin the final bracket. And if you thought it was chaos already, no man, well, we still have more. 5th place ride was very tragic. Firstly, Barlito had to double the queue at the worst possible time, leaving Castel and Waldo pass immediately. Sami was also in the same seat as she couldn't face Senior B, who just lost to Flame Maya on the side 3-2. The other two, however, were in the queue, this time, thankfully. But it was no less shocking as Edgar and Gabriel fell down to losers, but facing off their group phase opponent in a run back and ignoring any personal feelings for a moment. This is quite unexpected, and if anything, this tournament was screaming for more chaos. Now for personal feelings. 7th place finishers went to Waldo and Senior B, the ones who reached this round after their opponents DQs, funnily enough. Senior was beaten by Luis's projectile, and Waldo couldn't keep up in the Wario Detto, nor the Black Mage against Diakis. Great run, all things considered, especially with Senior still proving his ability to achieve great results in the face of post-patch Link. Then there were 6 players remaining, some who you probably wouldn't have thought they would be here. And on his side, Castell would finish the business with Nesius and continue his run with Solo Goku. Meanwhile, Flameire would also continue his run, beating Elim and getting to win its final with Solo DDD. I swear I'm not making it up. In losers, the 5th place seat would fall to Luis as we say goodbye to the young Samus main, losing the run back from his group phase against Nisius in a yet another game 5. On the contrary, Elim would lose the run back against Diakis, similar to Gabriel 2 rounds prior. 4th place went to the GD and 2DS Nisius, losing 3-1 to Diakis, whose momentum was skyrocketing and becoming a threat to take this tournament. Fun fact, Nisius' loss would be the only 3-1 he had this tournament, as he would go either 3-0 or his opponent drive him to game 5. And then there were 3 players that might not have considered being this far in the bracket. And here we have to say our goodbye to the man who pushed King Deddede's potential to the absolute limit. Flameire lost his run back against Castell, then settled for 3rd place by DX, achieving Deddede's highest ever result. We may not see something like this ever again anytime soon, but who knows? You never know what this DDD and 2DS will do next time, so keep an eye on him. And then there was 2. Castell versus Diakis, Mark versus Fanta, 2 rivals who are among the greats of LATAM history. Castell coming with a new Goku and showing his moves, and Diakis, the man who continued to show up and prove that he could keep up with anyone and everyone no matter the time. And whatever the result of this grand final will be, we will always know it will be a special one.
Ya, Caster, activa el modo Jesús con Kaioken por 20 y haz algo. No, mentira, no puedo hacer nada. Adiós.
Ok, vive, pero...
Menos mal no le leyó el día. Eso era muerte, si hacía down y vete hacia arriba.
Sí.
Oh,
It's Diego over.
se acabó.
Adiós,
Pobre,
adiós.
No, porque eso... Bueno,
Mentira, lo mata.
no quería matarlo con el... Bueno, si queréis jugar, usamos el
Pero
otro.
eso sí.
Casi
no,
no...
sí,
Oh, bueno, se acabó.
Se lo llevó. Se acabó.
Excelente, una dominación completa por parte de Diego. Felicidades, realmente.
With a 3-1 in the reset, Dieckis would come out on top, winning his first LATAM Summit tournament and the final major of 2025 season. In yet another losing run from outside top 8, he joined MT Ares is his achievement. Castel, while unable to win this, showed he still got the new Goku, and especially with his performance that exceeded all expectation, or made their expectation, because we knew this guy would be very great. And once again, under credit tournament that given us all matter of moments. And with its conclusion, it saw the end of the greatest season of LATAMs. Thanks for watching.